Rob Johnson. I'm the General Counsel for the Public Hospital District, and I wanted to bring to your attention that there is a sign-up sheet if you'd like to have public comment. There's a time in the agenda for public comment. Also up here is a copy of the agenda and a copy of the proposed interlocal agreement for your review. And if you do sign up, just come on up and sign up, and when it comes to public comment time, we'll see how many people want to speak and allocate our time accordingly.
And I will call the Shelton School Board to order, and we are here for a special meeting, and we will continue on later to a regular meeting.
Eric Wall, would you address? Oh, we're going to hand Craig. We'll have our superintendent.
I think the next item on the agenda is for the school board to adopt their special agenda.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that the agenda for April 20, 2015 special meeting at 4:00 p.m. be approved.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the special agenda for April 28, 2015, say aye.
Aye.
Pass.
Thank you. For those I have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Art Travis. I'm the interim superintendent for Shelton School District. The CEO, Eric Wall, for Mason General Hospital, and the interim superintendent, yours truly, have been busy. First, we thank you for honoring our request to have a joint meeting of the two agencies so that we can present the work that we have been doing and our recommendations. And I'd like to start because in many ways I was the one that started it on February 10th. On February 10th of this year, I made a presentation to the Shelton School District Board of Directors in which I recommended closure of the Shelton Pool. The board subsequently acted on that recommendation and scheduled the pool for closure as of July 1st, 2015. That action now stands as the current status. I'm here this afternoon to make another recommendation based on the work for many weeks of CEO Eric Wall and myself. We are here today to propose your consideration of a joint agreement between the hospital and the school district. First, I want to provide the foundation underlying this new proposal. On February 10th, I noted my observations regarding the significance of the pool in our community. I commented on the broad use of the pool by citizens of all ages. In particular, I stated, and I quote, "I truly believe the swimming pool is a community issue and a community obligation." I went on to say, yes, the schools can and should be a party to the joint use of a community pool, but they should not be the owners trying desperately to stretch a severely limited funding system. In short, the message was sent. The board went the next step and by their action said, this has gone on long enough and cannot continue. By closing the pool, they clearly handed it back to the community. A few weeks thereafter, Mason General Hospital's Chief Executive Greg Wall and I took up that conversation. And I'd like now to turn the conversation to you, Mr. Wall.
Thank you, Art. Again, my name is Eric Wall. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Mason General Hospital and Family Clinic, and also the Superintendent of Public Hospital District Number 1 of Mason County. First, I'd like to start by thanking the audience and the folks for coming here today and for caring about the health of the community and being engaged in this issue. It's that engagement which ultimately brought to the attention of my board that this was an important community issue that we needed to be engaged in, which ultimately, as we reflected on the need for us to lean into this issue, we looked at and reflected on our mission and our vision. And that is to be a leader in the health of our community. The 2015 Robert Wood Johnson survey ranked Mason County 33rd out of 39 counties. Access to recreation was one of the areas the county was below the state average. Closing the pool would move us further away from reducing diabetes and obesity. We all have a vested interest in the health and a healthy Mason County.
The school district, in looking at the swimming pool issue and considering the closure of the pool, directed me to not only begin the planning for the closure of the pool, but to look at repurposing that facility. And with that, all along, has been to figure out how do we carry forward the swimming and the aquatics program of the school district. So we began the process of looking at alternate facilities and transportation and issues that it would take in order for the school district to both close the pool that was on the school site and still be able to carry out some of what we wanted to do for the young people of this community. And I use that because I think the time is to make a statement of the justification on what basis do I, as the superintendent, now make the recommendation I made. I have believed, as I stated, that the pool ownership and sole operating cost is an obligation the school district cannot continue without truly taking finances away from schools and students and teachers. At the same time, we recognize that part of our athletic program, part of our physical education program, part of our work with elementary children and their safety has been something that we would continue. So with that, as Eric Wall and I began to develop the concept of exploring a joint agreement, what we did in effect was to try to work our way towards an agreement that would allow the school district to continue to be engaged in the aquatics program, to continue to serve the elements that we serve, and yet do it within a financial structure that was not neither onerous, nor was it one that was attempting to avoid the programs we really wanted to operate. With that justification, we worked our way looking at the significant issues that confronted us and trying to come forth with how do we serve, in our case, our mission of the school system, and be consistent with that mission, be consistent with our resources, and be able at the same time to move forward. And we're going to attempt now to fill in some detail fairly quickly in terms of the major issues that we've tried to address in this joint agreement.
So I'd like to summarize for the boards some of the details of the joint operating agreement. So first, ownership and management will still reside with the Shelton School District. Second, both parties will share in the ongoing operating costs. Third, Mason General Hospital and Family Clinics will contribute up to $50,000 towards immediate critical capital needs, with the remainder raised through community and grant contributions. And fourth, the parties agreed to work jointly to establish a community pool advisory committee to ensure the sustainability of a pool. The purpose of the community pool advisory committee would be to work with the public and private financial resources to develop a plan to make a pool facility independently sustainable.
And in concluding this part of what we're presenting, the two of us have agreed that it is not the mission to set up a long-term joint agreement that would continue either the hospital or the school district in the owner and manager of the pool, but rather to set a bridge in place with adequate time for the community to be able to step forward. So we've constructed this agreement on the concept of a 5-year agreement that in fact is not intended to go on for decades. It is not intended to continue a hospital or the school district as the major contributors. If and when a community pool is established and operated by the community, the school district will be a major tenant. It will probably be the anchor tenant of that facility. We have programs that we need to fulfill, and we need that. But we also need to represent well a handoff to the community. As Eric has just stated, our inclusion, our thought in this joint agreement was the two partners at this point of the agreement are the hospital district and the school district. But ultimately, the beneficiary will be the community as it develops a plan, a vision, and what that vision looks like in terms of scope, and where that scope leads in terms of finances and private finances or private-public participation. But it is not intended to come back and say to the school district, now we need you to find the capital, now we need you to find the operating cost. Neither is that intended to represent the hospital district that it's now all yours and we've divested ourselves of the obligation. It is a joint agreement that says to the community, we have in time looked back, and as I said, this, I believe, the swimming pool is a community issue, a community obligation, and let's get on with that in Shelton. I would offer as just a personal comment that as the interim superintendent, my time here is relatively short. I will finish up on June 30th. It is my hope that in the work that we have done, we can say between the two agencies, we have done a very good thing for the community, and we've enabled them. But my warning is very clear and very specific. They must be prepared as a community to pick up. It cannot reside on the school district or the hospital long term. So with that, we suggested the agenda that you adopted, that we would include these comments, allow the community opportunity, and then Eric and I will be available to the two groups to answer any and all questions that you may have and follow your direction.
We have one person signed up for comment, and that is Ross Gallagher.
First off, my name is Ross Gallagher. I live at 240 South 7th in Shelton, Washington. First off, I'd like to thank you for hosting this joint meeting between the school board and hospital commission. And I encourage you for immediate approval of this agreement. You're referring to Article 9, Community Pool Advisory. Who's going to have the ownership of a 501c3? And if that cannot be answered, there is a 501c3 available right now. I'm currently the chair of the Community Center Association. Right now we're in a hiatus status. However, we still own our IRS account. The Community Center Association can change our direction, and we could merge with this Community Pool Advisory, and it'd be a right fit. There are several options for grants for nonprofits, but not for governments. Right now, we need a nonprofit grant. The outgoing parks director from Mason County, who was on my board, John Keys, we had a conversation the other day, and he said there are grants out there that's waiting to be picked up for nonprofits. So I hope our group can help out, and we're here to help. And once again, I sure appreciate the dedication of both the board and commission to find a solution for this problem that the community really needs, the whole community. And thank you.
That's the only person we had signed for public comment, so you This is the opportunity for the board members to ask Mr. Small if you have any questions regarding the agreement about race and things like that.
Eric, maybe talk a little bit about Eric,
Tiny little switch on the back. The bottom.
really? Okay. How's that? Can you hear me now, Eric? Eric. I know we talked about the formation of a nonprofit, and you proposed several different ideas. Would you like to share those possible options with the community and the school?
Well, I think there will be several options, and I certainly don't want to get too far ahead of the planning of the community advisory group. But just in terms of the capital campaign, there'll be a number of vehicles in order to safeguard assets raised for the pool, and either the hospital's 501c3 as a designated fund, or possibly the foundation, or certainly the school district 501c3.
The school district has a 501c3.
Oh, sorry.
Question?
Not that I know of.
Not that I know.
I'm still learning about Shelton, but that's not
Does
that I
anybody
know of.
know? The school district foundation? But I
Yeah, I was referencing the foundation.
I understood that the funds couldn't come into that for this purpose, because this has been a question previously. So, perhaps not, perhaps yours. Are there any questions the school district board has?
Has the hospital board seen the final agreement? You guys see that? The one that we got this morning?
Later this afternoon?
The joint operating agreement. The final version, certainly it was available to them this afternoon. Unlikely they had the opportunity to read all of it.
With the exhibits and everything? Did they see the exhibits?
The question is, have you had a chance to see all of the exhibits?
No, not necessarily the exhibit, but we have had a chance to read the written portion of the agreement in a format that's just getting revised. Most of the information that's in there we reviewed.
So, we were told by our attorney yesterday that this document could not be released to the public until there was final approval and signatures. So, to those in our community that had asked for this, and we told them they could not see it, we were basing that on a legal opinion that was given to us. So I just want to put that out there that before there's any confusion that there may be, we were operating from that recommendation, or from that stipulation from our attorney. So I was surprised to see this available for everyone today. And one of the other board members, I don't want to be the only one speaking here.
I was surprised.
Yeah, we're all surprised with this. Pleasantly. The other question that I have is, this has been a long journey for this board. Back in January of 2014, we were facing the situation that all of our summer maintenance dollars were going to be needed to repair the pool. And we're talking $250,000, $300,000. All that was going to need to go to repairing the pool a year ago, January 2014. At that time, another thing occurred, and that was that we had repeated failure leaking in a roof at the Oklahoma Bay Junior High. So we made the decision then that we needed to fix the roof rather than the swimming pool. So we made the decision at that time that we really wanted to understand what was involved in the repair of the swimming pool. And we went out and we hired a consultant, a team of experts to come in and do a complete review of the swimming pool. That cost us $20,000. So that we refer to as the ORB report or study that was done by these subject matter experts, architect, engineer, electrician, and mechanical experts all came in and did a thorough review. They came back to us with what we knew in January of 2014, knowing that the pit lid needed to be replaced and that vault, the walls of it, all needed to be shored up because a 43-year-old pool does, with repeated chemical problems, does have some deterioration. So we knew that needed to be done. And we knew that the grates in both the diving pool and the larger pool needed to be replaced. We also realized that by draining that pool, the possibility was that there's going to need to be replastered. I am saying all this to say that that report is so critical to setting up what it is that's required for this pool to be safe for the public. The reason why those grates need to be replaced is because there have been people who have gotten hurt because of the way the water drains out. And that's documented in this ORB report. So, no, it said in our pool. Staff had reported that. That's in this report. So that's why we're asking if you've seen this. And when we had a pool advisory committee, and they spent several months looking at this, and came back to us with the same thing, that we needed to come up with $250,000, and now it's probably between $250,000 and $300,000. Somewhere in that neighborhood is, we have had this repeatedly confirmed that that's what's needed for the repairs. So when we look into your agreement and see in your agreement that you're going to put up to $50,000, and we're going to hold the insurance, that brings concern to us because we know that it's so much more than $50,000 to make it safe. And I'm not here I want to figure out, I personally would like to figure out a way that we provide a swimming opportunity for our students, because that's what we are supposed to be looking out for, is the students. We want to figure that out. But we want to make sure that we go into this with our eyes wide open.
Brenda, we've been briefed on the points you talked about. We know the massiveness of the repairs that are needed, both in the short term and possibly longer down the road. What we see ourselves doing now is just becoming a bridge so that the community can go ahead and come together to find solutions to those problems. We've been approached by several commercial businesses in town, asking what, if they could go ahead and donate and what they thought the need might be financially. But I think the first step in this process is to go ahead and get as your superintendent talked about, is stopping the process to decommission the pool and get us all talking together as a community and what we go ahead and do to keep it open. And the $50,000 would go ahead and not, it's not going to fix it. We're not asking you to go ahead and only up the rest of it. We understand your financial limitations. But this is going to get by community time to address it. If it doesn't happen, we can go at the end of the day and say, at least we tried. It's the right thing to do.
I guess I'd like to ask a question. Do you foresee that we might have a pool that's usable by September 1? Or do you anticipate? I would expect probably we have closure all summer long until we get some of the repairs done or something. Do you have any kind of feel for the timeline?
Sandy, as we pointed out in the documents, you still own and control the pool. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that hot potato back to you and let you figure out all those hard things to do. We're just going ahead and buying some time for you to help support the process.
You see that maybe a little bit insight into some of the financial prospects anyway, so I thought you might be able to speak to the speed at which some things might be able to happen.
There were legitimate questions and offers. They realized the first step in that process is to go ahead and have this agreement signed between the two bodies. Then they have a safeguard for the money to be deposited. And then I think we feel comfortable going back to it and say, okay, now are you ready to rise the check?
I guess I'm still hung up on this, this extra money that we need to replace the brakes. And I know that you didn't know how per se. So you say, Scott, that we don't have to come up with it, you're not going to come up with it, but it still needs to be addressed before we can start this. So I still am really confused as to where exactly this money is supposed to come from. I mean, not, putting it on the side, just kind of thinking out loud.
And we don't know, Cheryl. That's going to go back to the community. That's why we're forming this committee. But you'll have representation on, we'll have representation on, and as well as lots of community members to go ahead and finance.
I have a problem with the fact that you're putting money into a 43-year-old pool. It's kind of like putting money into an old boat. That's what farmer owners used to complain about. The Squaxin tribe is willing to work with us, and I think we need to put that in the pot here, stir that up too, because just to say let's get a bunch of money and fix the pool at the school, there's got to be a cutoff point for that pool because it's in such a dire condition. The best way to do it is to scrap it and get a new pool. Why are we spending this much money on something that's going down the drain in the first place when we could use the Squaxin pool? Collect money from the county, from the city, from the residents who want a pool, which I'm all for a pool, but not a pool that's deteriorating at this stage.
We understand that the permanent solution might be even a bigger vision in the pool, some type of a community youth center. It's been battered around a little bit, on sort of like a YMCA type. This might be the time for the community to come together and say, let's see if we can't raise the money to do something.
Well, I certainly don't want to limit any of our options. So I'm perfectly willing to look at the agreement and let the community direct how this effort will go.
And Sandy, I think that's exactly what we're saying too. We don't have the time, the energy, the expertise, the money, and the human being to try to drive this process. That's going to be a community-driven process. And hopefully the folks in the room today will go ahead and raise their hand and say, yeah, I'd like to be part of that solution.
Do you have any questions for us?
You having fun yet?
We had so much fun. It just goes on. So, are we going to, do we need to have an executive session? See, that's on our agenda. Is there a need for an executive session?
I'm not requesting one, but we wanted to be able to be in that position if you felt that you needed one for competitors.
It was put on there as an opportunity. I spoke with your council, or we emailed back and forth, and we just want to make sure if you had legal questions that both attorneys were available in case there was legal concerns, and that was just an option for the board members to, if you wanted to consult with your counsel, you could, and that's why it was put on the agenda. There was no preconceived notion that you would need that, or we could.
Nancy, where do you think we are at this point on the agenda, or at the committee?
Well, I was hoping we might have a little more discussion from our guests. I hope they feel welcomed and free to express their opinions. This is not a time we can answer your questions, but this is a time for us to listen and start, together formulating solutions for a pool in our community. I feel is just so necessary. I think it's a health issue. It's also a morale issue. That pool was something that created a lot of pride and created a lot of young people that won prizes for their swimming ability, which added to their health. And just their whole character. I think, a community effort for the pool is so appropriate here in Shelton. So I applaud our guests for getting this going.
Nancy, are you in favor of an aquatic center or a youth center? How do you see strategically into the future? What would you like to see?
I don't have any constricted notions about this. We can dream, and dream as big as we can fill it. There are a lot of opportunities in our community and a lot of generous people. It always amazes me when people step up and say, I want to help. And they do. That's who we are. So I don't have the answers. I really applaud Scott's thought of giving our youth more than just a swimming pool. I think it's not just our youth. I bet that there would be seniors, all age people making use of a facility like that. I think it would be something that would enhance the community a lot.
I know I've heard from various people that have used the pool as a result of having used your services and needed some rehabilitation, so they can use the pool for some exercise to rehabilitate a joint. So I think it's an example of a good blend of the two efforts.
But as it stands right now, my husband could go use it because he's wheelchair bound. There's no way to get him into that hot tub, the water. And that is not included in this $300,000.
Carol, I can't use it.
Yeah, see, there you go.
But
Yes.
yeah, that's something that the community can rally behind and help get correctly installed.
Because again, we come back to the age of the pool. We're going to spend that much money.
If the community wants to, why would I tell them no? Why would I stand in their way?
Well, okay, but I'm just thinking of the long term. It's like an old car. You wouldn't continually fix it and fix it and fix it. There's got to be, to me, there's got to be a cutoff point as to the age that this pool is and the deterioration of this thing. I am all personally, like you, Scott, I'm all for community center. I think that's something that this community has needed for a long time, along with something for the youth, something that is accessible to people who are low income and people who are handicapped. And the high school pool, a lot of times, doesn't make it. And I don't know about you, but I can't hardly stand to be in there because there's so much chlorine and it bothers my asthma really bad. There's something wrong with the mixture there. I think we need more care of that facility because I think this facility has gone years with just a Band-Aid on it. And the Band-Aid is broken.
Okay, so, Superintendent.
I'd like to add maybe a comment. Eric and I introduced this and we're recommending it. So as we look at the proposed resolution, let's recommend approval. I'd like to speak, I guess, why as a superintendent we're recommending this given some of the issues that are being addressed. When I made the recommendation to you to close the pool, we were looking at sole operating costs with no assistance from anyone in the community. I believe that the 50-50 operating cost agreement addresses that and puts us in a position that we can, in fact, stay within the budget and we can continue operating the pool in the short term. Secondly, we faced some conditions that needed repaired in order to continue operating the pool. I had two concerns when I recommended closure of the pool. One was that as we engaged in those repairs, there was no particular stopping place. It could in fact get us into larger costs, and the school district would operate on its own and would be obligated, having invested the first part, to really continue in a longer term. So as you look at the potential of hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, I simply could not recommend that to the board that I recommend closure. Now in this joint agreement, I can recommend to you that a joint agreement says the school district will not be asked for the repair costs on the front side and will not be asked for the repair costs or the replacement costs in the long term. There are questions. There's no uncertainty. As we talked about the VGB rates and I learned more about it, the question of, while we're trying to repair the rates, do we have to drain the pool? If we have to drain the pool, will the plaster fall off? Will there be an immediate $155,000 or more cost? That's possible. There's no musical, I won't burst into song, but it says something about being a confounded optimist. I'm an optimist enough to believe that there are ways of completing some of those repairs without jeopardizing the pool. And secondly, that there's an opportunity to give some other people a chance without jeopardizing the school district. So in this agreement, I've worked very hard, and I think Eric can attest to protect the school district as we venture and enter into this, that it doesn't somehow put the school district in a position of being unable to continue because of the financial burden, because of the cost to the students. So I can recommend it with a very clear conscience as a superintendent and as a fiscal conservative in the school business, that I think this opens a door. There are no guarantees. Where the funding will come from, exactly what will fall out. We're trying to cover what happens if there is an unexpected need and there's no money to cover it. What's the obligation of either of the agencies? And the fact is that we could find ourselves in the joint with both agencies at some point admitting defeat, but we're unable to make it work. But I strongly recommend to you that this agreement can put you in the position of finding out without jeopardizing the school district, putting you in a long-term place that's more difficult, that doesn't require the immediate closure of the pool because there isn't anybody to operate it and no help in the school system. So I go back to recommend approval. I do recommend approval, and I recognize that it's your call. It's not mine as a superintendent. Mine is to make a recommendation. But I can recommend to you with a very clear belief that this is a good agreement for the school system that is not holding you in a place that puts you in an impossible line where the issues like the lift, which is estimated to cost about $9,000. I don't know. I don't have a donor. I have this feeling and inkling and hints that there are people who, if in fact it's a responsible agency and responsible management, are willing to step forward and help. And I think the hospital foundation, school district itself, we will retain a very responsible management. We'll retain the correct liability decisions. If we can't do it safely, we can't do it. But with that, I guess I just add my belief that I can recommend this to you. I think it's a good agreement. I think it's worth taking the hospital on this partnership and the joint side. And I do believe that the Shelton community will step forward. I won't be here to see it probably, but I will stay tuned with every ounce of my being because I think it's so important to the community that they will step forward and find a way. I'm not sure what that is. So I apologize for kind of mixed both commentary and recommendation, but I would put the passion in there that I can recommend this to you, and I do not feel that I'm endangering the school district in a situation that's really impossible and uncomfortable or uncertain. The right protections are in the agreement. Thank you.
So I personally, just speaking to my board members, I'm not prepared to vote on this at this point in time. And here are my reasons for not being prepared. We have, this board has one board member who is traveling, wasn't able to be here today. He's been on the board almost 8 years, and I think Gene Craver should be involved in and deal with it when we make that decision, when we make a decision on this agreement. The second thing is that the document, this agreement, we've had 2 agreements that have come into email box since yesterday when we spent 4 hours on the previous version of the agreement. We've had no opportunity to look at it. Have you seen it? You didn't see it, you walked in.
No, okay, but I also noticed in this one page here, it's got the city involved too, for some reason. Yeah.
So we have not had the opportunity to go through this. And so we need more time. This is not something we want to rush into. We deliberated significantly at length and voted twice on the closure of the pool. decision that we want to go in with our eyes wide open on it. Be prepared. Whatever. So, if the other three want to, you may go ahead, but that's what I think it should be that we come to that decision on Gene's bill.
And that's all those questions.
All five of us.
And again, I think we should sit down and talk about it.
I think this is a good start, but I think missing Gene is number one. Number two, there are just a lot of unasked, unknown questions at this time that we may be able to be answered if we take our time and read over it and talk about it together, us and you, as opposed to just saying, okay, let's make a decision right now. That's kind of something that's underdone a little bit. I would prefer not to make a decision tonight. I'll make a little statement here. I have noticed that there are a few minor grammatical errors in the mention of the city in the document. I don't think there's anything in the document that is of substantial nature that it would affect the intent of the agreement or the ability to execute the agreement. I don't have reservations about going forward with this. I think from my viewpoint, it would be better to try and to risk failure in this venture than to never try at all. Sounds a little bit cliche, but portrays my viewpoint there. If the board feels the need to wait for our fifth board member, June, I can respect that. I also, would ask the board to consider the effort it might take to gather this group together again, or we might have to vote on rescinding it. And this is quite an effort to pull all of this group together and to ask everybody to do it again could be a little bit of an effort. I don't think we have to be able to do that.
Well, I think at this point, I will ask Don to read the resolution for our board.
Madam President, I'd like to move to adopt resolution 2015-9. A resolution approving the interlocal agreement between Shelton School District 3 and 9 and Public Hospital District number 1 of Mason County, which is Mason General Hospital District. To work collaboratively to provide the future operation of the Shelton Pool.
Thank you, Don. Is there any discussion?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Linda, I certainly understand, I think, the position you're in. Will you commit tonight to go ahead and tell your superintendent to stop the plans for decommissioning the pool until you go ahead and get your board in agreement? Time is running along here.
Well, our board member can't be back today,
Right.
so he can't be at our meeting at 5:45.
Right.
So the earliest that we could meet would be, I think, next Wednesday.
But before you go ahead at your regular board meeting, direct the superintendent, as I understood it, to start making plans to decommission the pool.
We can take that into consideration, Scott. But you know, what you're saying in your resolution there, you're saying the future operation of the Shelton Pool. There's no time certain there, just as our resolution says that. There's no time certain. So that's part of what we're looking at. This just goes on. This operation just goes on. It's more than just a bridge, more than just a transition.
We don't see it that way. Just, this is a maximum of 5-year agreement with a 1-year option by either party. Go ahead and cancel it.
So I are wordsmithing here in the resolution title, we do that. Clear that this just doesn't go on. You know, we would be here in this room today. We would not be meeting today if we had not said the pool is closing. Because when we voted, the pool is closing, then all of a sudden, the community said, let's see how we fix this. Let's get involved, you know? That's what we've said. So that's why I'm saying, Scott, if there's not something out there, some end point that's certain, where's the impetus to bring the community forward?
Well, as Sandy said, I guess we'd rather try than not. You got time for one story?
If you share yours and I've got a story for you.
Okay. You talked about trying to go ahead and get the community to go ahead and see the need and support it one way or the other. Back many years ago, I was mayor. If you remember, now where the fire station is now the city fire department, there was the police department there in the basement, basically, of the fire department. There's a creek that goes right up on the side. Every time we've got a high tide, the police department would literally flood. They'd be picking stuff off the floor, they'd be putting it on the desk. Fire guys would be going, it's horrible. So we didn't have the money in the city to go ahead and build a new fire department and this is how the city center. So we went out to the public and said, we need your support, we need the community to go ahead and share us through this process. And we now have a new fire department and a new city center, which I think speaks well for the community. We didn't do it as elected officials, the community did. So I'm proposing that we go ahead and give the community and this group that opportunity.
Okay, now for my story.
Sure.
Last fall, I was at a Washington State School Directors Association meeting, and I just happened to be sitting next to this school board director from Port Angeles. And I mentioned to him that we were struggling with what to do about our pool. And he shared with me, here's how we got our pool repaired and funded. We said, on this day, this pool is closing. And if you don't step forward, community, this pool will go away. That was his advice to me. If you want to make something happen, you say, this is the end of it. We cannot afford it. What I see here is that this is a 5-year period, and I've not made up my mind as to whether this is good or not. I'm really trying to do due diligence to understand what is in it. And because of this flurry of paper, I haven't understood it. I'm not completely comfortable with what's in the agreement. So we're setting up this 5-year period. And I don't know that that's the right period of time, that that's the right amount of time. One of our board members, Gene Craig, said, will the community stay engaged and focused on this with all of the many, many needs that we all see throughout this community? Will our supporters, will the pool supporters, stay engaged and focused on this need, especially if it goes for a 5-year period? Pardon? Yeah, and that's another concern that we have. We are looking at all of these uncertainties that we're facing. We could see a considerable drop in our enrollment this fall and over the next year. We don't know how the funding is going to work out. So these are all things that we have to take into consideration. And we know that there are other options. As Carolyn said, we know the Swanson Island pool is down there, that it's a public pool. There have been so many people that I have said, did you know there's a Swanson Island pool? That the Swanson Island tribe has a pool? People do not know this stuff. They don't know. They don't know that there is another pool. And we have over the past few months, we have been repeatedly, meeting after meeting after meeting, accused of not caring for the children, not caring for the students, that we will be responsible for the children dying. So we have taken the criticism, meeting after meeting after meeting. And our intentions are this. We are trying to do what is best for the students. That's what we're trying to do. I'm saying this to you today because this is what we have seen. And this is where we've been. And we appreciate your being willing to come forward to help out. Just give us the time to study this, to understand it, and to come. We never, in our meetings, we never have one reading of any document. Any policy document is read at least twice. We did not know that this document is going to be here today for the public to see, because our attorney had advised us that we absolutely could not release this until it was signed. That's what we were told yesterday. We would have had, this would have completely changed how we would approach setting up the time of this meeting.
Is there any further discussion? We have a motion on the floor, and I will call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is passed with our 3 ayes. I like to think that we are working in a partnership, not in a divisive way. We're both trying to do what is best for the kids. And the healthiness, I think health is a big word in this whole discussion. So, we thank you for joining us today. I appreciate hearing your opinions, your research, your due diligence on the whole issue. It's very big. And I applaud you for the courage of having said, we're going to close it, because look at the results we got from your brave statement. I hope we can resolve that statement, though, and have a happy ending.
So having completed the agenda, then for the Shelton School Board, we will declare the special meeting adjourned.
And in closing, I'd like to commission and working with Nancy during this process, thank her for her dedication to leadership. She did a good job. It's a pleasure working with her. I would ask our 2 superintendents to start thinking about how we're going to go ahead and craft that advisory committee and come up with a possible structure and some options that maybe you go ahead and present to us in a couple of weeks at our next board meeting. Is that possible? I will certainly follow you for
Okay, I believe our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.